Uh,
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another edition of Marshall Time. I think it's episode 5, bro, right?
yes,
Episode
it's
5.
episode 5. We halfway there.
Trying to get to those double digits. We're going to have to celebrate. Special March Madness edition for all the Who fans. Even if you're not a Who fan, everybody is doing a bracket. So this is about the bracket. You can listen to us if you want and try to get some help when it comes to your bracket pools. Some people may do it for money or just for bragging rights. So we're gonna go region by region. I got a paper bracket. Josh, I know you got yours.
Yeah, I don't
Uh,
got the paper record, but I got it on my phone, so we're gonna be all good.
First, I gotta give a look. This is a hard time for certain fans who didn't make it, right? Like the Wildcats, Villanova. Talk
It's
about it.
rough. It's rough for us. I mean, I kind of expected we weren't gonna be that good this year. One, we had Jay Wright was going. Anytime a program like that loses their coach that kind of built it up, that's what happens. So also Ken Whitmore was hurt for a majority of the season. That was like our top recruit, very talented player. He's gonna be a lottery pick this year. So, we had a rough patches, but Villanova, we'll be back. Don't worry, we're gonna be back. We just gotta get back in the swing of things, but you can't ever count us out. We got it. We're a household name in college hoops, so we'll be good.
It's weird because you always want to see Philly teams do well, whether it's Temple, Nova, St. Joe's, LaSalle, Drexel, Penn, whatever. So for me, I don't know how to feel. Like the Tar Heels. I don't know if you can see it. The jerk, like I don't, is it showing up?
Yeah, it's
Like man,
showing. It's coming up. It's coming up.
it's that's done. Toss that out. How you go from national championship game to whatever this was, and then like I did a year of schooling at Q, so that's tossed out. I can't even. I have no rooting interest anymore in this tournament.
I was thinking about that to myself earlier. I'm like, I don't even know who to root for because Villanova is like the only team I ever root for. Like you said, we'll root for the Philly teams if they in it, but none of them are in it.
Penn
I
State is
really don't.
outside of Penn State is the closest we're gonna
Yeah,
get.
but it's like I don't watch Penn State basketball. I barely watch the football. I'm a football fan for the Penn State, but I barely watch them. So
I
I
find
don't know.
myself rooting for coaches now when I'm looking at it, right? Like
Yeah.
I like that Shaka Smart's doing well, and for me, we'll talk about Marquette a little later, but I want to see Kelvin Sampson and I want to see Kelvin Sampson win a championship. That'd be cool. I want to see Brandon Miller and see how he does. He's one of the top freshmen, top players, in college ball. I want to see some of these guys, for Baylor, Keontae George, Arkansas, Nick Smith, Anthony Black. So some of these young guys, see how they do, but I don't have a rooting interest team wise. Like I really, yeah, whoever wins, good for them. Like it doesn't really do anything for me because, like you said, Carolina's not in it, Cuse isn't in it, Villanova isn't in it. So it's like, man, who do we root for? So I'm rooting for stories and coaches. So with that being said, we're gonna go region by region and sort of give our thought process for certain picks. And let's start with the South. The top seed overall is Alabama. And we can just go game by game real quick. Obviously, as we get closer, we can talk more about these matchups. But I can start us off with the South region and who I got coming out of there. So I got Bama beating Texas Corpus Christi. Shout out to Corpus Christi doing their thing, but Bama too good, one of the best offenses in the nation. Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia moving on. This 12-5 matchup is always tricky. A lot of people always say the 12-5 matchup can go either way, and I really do subscribe to that usually. But in this one, I think San Diego State, they have a lot of veterans. They play tough defense. This is a tough team. This is a proven program out there on the West Coast. I got San Diego State. Another trendy upset pick is Furman in Virginia. I almost went with Furman. I almost did it. I said, nah. I've seen enough from Virginia when it came to ACC play. Virginia's moving on. Creighton, NC State. Creighton's a team I really like. I like their makeup. They got some size. They got some shooters. Trey Alexander, get to know him. Creighton's moving over NC State. Baylor, UC Santa Barbara. Baylor's moving on. Missouri, Utah State. Missouri's moving on. Had to think twice about that one, though. That was kind of a pick 'em. Arizona, Princeton. I love this Arizona team. Not as much as last year's, but Zona's coming on that one. In the Sweet 16, Bama, San Diego State. Bama's moving on. Creighton, Arizona could be one of the better Sweet 16 games if we get that. This was like a last minute prediction for me. I went with Creighton. I did it. And then in the Elite Eight, Bama Creighton matchup, I got Bama representing the South region.
So for me, Alabama, Texas A&M, Corpus Christi. I gotta go with Alabama. Maryland, West Virginia. I'm going with Maryland on that. That's a tough one for me to pick, but I went with Maryland. San Diego State, Charleston. Like you said, that 5-12 matchup. I'm going with the 12. I'm going with Charleston because I just feel like they have some veterans too. They also have good guard play. And I just think that they could definitely give San Diego State a run for their money. They won their conference, which is it's not like a major conference, but it's competitive there. I feel like they're ready. So I feel like they'll give San Diego State that work. I feel like they're going to beat them. So I'm going with Charleston. Virginia Furman. I've been going back and forth all day. Well, yesterday on that pick. And it's mainly because Virginia, we know what they do. Play physical defense, take their time on offense. But Furman, they like to get a lot of threes up and they can hit them. So it's going to come down to who can really play their game. And I think Virginia might be a little too physical for them, but we'll see when that time comes. But I'm going with Virginia. Creighton, NC State, I went with Creighton. Baylor versus USCB, definitely went with Baylor. We got Missouri and Utah State. I went with Missouri. Arizona, Princeton, I went with Arizona. Then as we move on to the round of 32, I got Alabama moving on over Maryland. Virginia moving on over Charleston. I have Baylor beating Creighton. I like Keontae George and their guards. I like what they can do. And I like Arizona over Missouri. And then down to the Sweet 16, I have Alabama beating Virginia. I have Baylor beating Arizona. And then Elite 8, I think Alabama's going to make it. I think they're going to make it to that Final Four. So that's what I got out in the South region.
That Creighton Baylor one hurt me because I'm huge on Baylor. I'm huge on Baylor in that guard play. It just, I don't know, Creighton, man, they're talented. That's to be a second round game, to get either one of those teams for Baylor to get Creighton and vice versa, man, that's a tough one. That one really, because I'm huge on Scott Drew. Man, that was a tough one. But I don't know, something, I've been watching Baylor lately. I don't know. They're not playing their best basketball, but things can change. But Creighton, man, they were a top 10 team, at the start of the season. Like, they have a lot of talent. So we'll see that. Creighton, Baylor, and then Creighton, Arizona in my bracket. Like, those could be some crazy games. So we both, either way, however you want to get to it, we got Bama coming out of that region.
Yes, sir.
The East, I was shocked at who I got coming out the East. I was shocked because I was kind of like, I was hesitant. I didn't know what to think about this team, but I slowly rewatching some games in their conference tournaments, and I'm starting to come along with this team. I'm starting to warm up, and I think this side of the bracket will allow them to make it out. So I'm gonna just go from the beginning. Purdue, they'll get when we're recording this, Texas Southern and FDU, they're playing right now. Whoever wins that, they're going to lose to Purdue. Let's just get that out the way. Memphis, FAU. Shout out to Memphis. Shout out to Penny Hardaway winning their conference tournament. Happy for that program. Happy for Coach Penny. I like how Memphis is playing right now. Kendrick Davis. Penny finally got his point guard, and it's showing. DeAndre Williams. I think FAU is a really good team, but I think Memphis, with those two guys, they can play a physical style of play. I got Memphis moving on. Duke, Oral Roberts. I'm a Carolina fan, right? So anytime I can pick Duke to lose, I'm going to do it. But I know Oral Roberts has Max Abmas. I just think Duke is playing well right now. I'm going to give them the edge in this one. I thought about it, though. Tennessee, Louisiana. This is one I almost went with Louisiana, but I think Tennessee size and overall talent will push them over the edge. Kentucky, Providence. This is another good first round one. I think Kentucky has a little bit more. When I watch Providence, sometimes offensively they can struggle. And I think Kentucky, Oscar Tshiebwe and Cason Wallace, a freshman who I've been talking about on this show before, I think that'll be enough to get them over the edge. Kansas State, Montana State, Kansas State, Michigan State, USC, Michigan State winning that one. Marquette, Vermont, Shaka, you moving on. All right, second round, Purdue, Memphis. I'm picking Memphis to beat Purdue. I don't buy Purdue. I know you got the big fella, Zach Edey, right? But outside of that, I don't trust their guard play. And so I want to see how they can handle Memphis style of play. Kendrick Davis can sort of have a big game. DeAndre Williams, too. And so I'm excited to see how Memphis and Purdue matches up. But I think Memphis, they're playing well. I'm going to get Memphis past Purdue. Duke, Tennessee, at a certain point, I don't trust Tennessee. That's just what it is. I've learned my lesson with Tennessee over the years. So I'm going to pick Duke. It hurts me to say. Kentucky, Kansas State. I'm going with Kentucky. Michigan State, Marquette. Shaka Smart, you moving on. Let's go. So my Sweet 16 matchup is Memphis, Duke, Kentucky, Marquette. I think Duke has too much for Memphis. But that's where the Duke stuff ends. I promise you. I'm not picking them forward anymore. I got Marquette making the Elite Eight. I got Marquette, and then I got Marquette beating Duke. I got Marquette in my Final Four coming out of the East. I didn't expect to pick Marquette. I'm not even going to hold you. I didn't expect to pick them. But they convinced me during their Big East tournament run.
That's how it is when you picking, man. Like, you just start looking at the matchups and you like, you know what? They might make it.
I mean, Tyler Kolek is the Big East Player of the Year. Cam Jones is a talented scorer. Shaka Smart, we know his history with VCU and having teams that go far in the tournament. I love how they're playing right now. That momentum is important. So I got Marquette representing the East.
I'm not mad at that. So for the East region, I have Purdue winning their first round matchup. Then we have Memphis over Florida Atlantic. Oral Roberts and Duke. I'm going with Oral Roberts, man. I got to. I loved watching them play last year. I loved watching Max Abmas play. Duke, we know it's Duke. They're a powerhouse and all that, but this isn't one of their stronger teams. And I feel like Oral Roberts, they can knock them off. They hitting their shots. Max Abmas is getting off, and other guys are contributing. I really do think that they could knock Duke off. So I'm going with Oral Roberts, man. Tennessee over Louisiana. Kentucky over Providence. This is going to be a good game, but I have a lot of faith in Kentucky, and we'll get to that when I get later into the bracket, but I got Kentucky. Kansas State over Montana State. I like Michigan State over USC. Marquette over Vermont. Round of 32, I have Memphis upsetting Purdue. I do.
Let's go.
I like them. I like them upsetting Purdue. Purdue, I don't know. I don't believe in them. I know a lot of people probably don't believe in them, but it's for good reason. And I just think Memphis, they've been playing good as of late. They I believe they beat Houston in their conference tournament. So, they're rolling right now. I'm gonna go with Memphis. Or Roberts. I have them beating Tennessee. Hey, the way I look at it is if they can knock off Duke in that round one, they can beat Tennessee as well. So I like them knocking Tennessee off. I like it. Then I like Kentucky beating Kansas State. I have Marquette beating Michigan State. Now that we get on to the Sweet 16, I got Oral Roberts beating Memphis too. I got it. I got it. It's something about, it's something I don't know. I'm all, I love the underdog story.
Yeah.
They made it to the Sweet 16 last year. Now this is their chance to say, you know what? All right, let's take it a step further. Max Abmas might be his last year, probably will be his last year. So I like that. Then I got Kentucky beating Marquette. And then when we get down there, when it gets down to it, I got Kentucky representing. Kentucky representing. And here's why. This Kentucky team is better than people think. I think they're better than people would like to believe. They have good guard play and Antonio Reeves, Cason Wallace. And they have, like you said, Oscar Sweetbay. He's a beast on the boards. He's dominant down there. And, when it comes to March Madness, like playoff basketball, NBA, college, whatever, every possession counts. And you have a big man that can get you rebounds on offense and defense, that can go a long way. And I really just think this is a team that's flying under the radar. We know most Kentucky teams, they get a lot of praise because they have the top recruits, the next NBA top prospects, but they don't have like a top 5 projected pick on their team this year. I feel like this is a team that's going to fly under the radar, and they're just playing hard. And I believe in Kentucky this year. I think they'll go to the Final Four. They have a good chance.
Yeah, I think I got Kentucky and Marquette playing in Sweet 16. I think whoever gets past that round represents the East. I went with Marquette in that one. Room for Shaka Smart. All right, now we go to the Midwest. And there's a certain matchup that I was torn about when we get to the Elite Eight, but we'll get to that. So Houston, Northern Kentucky. Houston, you moving on. I know the biggest thing is Marcus Sasser, which gives me pause about Kentucky, right? He's a projected NBA draft pick. He's such a talented guard. Him and Jamal Shead make such a great backcourt combo. So I'm not sure if I don't think they'll play him. I don't think they would try to risk that until the second round. So I'm gonna go with Houston in that one, whether he plays or not. Iowa Auburn is 8-9 matchup. I mean, whoever moves past this one is gonna get bounced anyway. I was back and forth with this one. Man, this is tough. I like Keegan Murray's brother, Chris Murray. I think he's the best player in that game. I'm gonna go with the team that has the best player. I'm gonna go with Iowa. Miami Drake. Drake is a trendy 12-5 pick. My upset isn't coming here yet. I got an upset coming. It's not coming in this one. I got Miami. Indiana, Kent State. I've loved this Indiana team all year. You know, Jackson Davis, Trace Jackson Davis, you know, Hood Schifino. But I think I've been watching this. I've been watching some of the Kent State's team, you know, in the conference tournament play. This is a dangerous team. They played Houston tough this year, right? I look at the depth that they have versus Indiana. I think Indiana is vulnerable. As much as I love those two guys for Indiana, I think this is where I get my 13-4 upset. I'm going to pick Kent State over Indiana. Iowa State, Pitt. I'm going to go with Pitt. I'm going to pick that first 4 team that, you know, sort of has some momentum going. They have a lot of guys who are experienced. You know, they want to make this march run as long as possible. So I'm going to go with Pitt. Xavier, Kennesaw State. Move over Xavier. A&M and Penn State. I'm going to go with the PA team. Why not? Penn State's playing well. They've raised the stock of that program. I'm going to go with Penn State for this one. Texas, Colgate. Texas, you're moving on. Houston, Miami. Houston, you're moving on. Even though I'm kind of nervous about the Sasser injury, but we'll talk more about that. Then I have Pitt, Xavier. Sorry, Pitt, this is where it ends. I'm going Xavier. Penn State, Texas. I love this Texas team. Move over Texas. Sweet 16, Houston, Miami. The further we get into the tournament, I'm concerned about Sasser. This is all me assuming Sasser can play. I got Houston beating Miami. Man. And then I have, this was Xavier, Texas. Texas is playing well. I love their backcourt. Marcus Carr, Serge Jabari Rice, Tyrese Hunter. I got Houston, Texas, all Texas matchup. I said it from the beginning, a Texas school will be in a Final Four and championship, and this is the one matchup that gave me issue because I don't know about Sasser's injury, but I'm going with Houston. I mean, they went to the Sweet 16 in 2019, Final Four in 2021, Elite Eight in 2022. I got to think they're going to push through. And the national championship game is in Houston. Kelvin Sampson, what better story, you know, would this be, right? And so I think the style of play, we talked about this, their style of play, I think they can win and they can grind you out. Their guards can get going. I just think Houston is going to do it. They're going to find a way. So Houston's going to beat Texas to make the Final Four. So I got Houston beating Texas. Houston's representing the Midwest.
Okay. Ours is kind of similar over here. So outside of a few matchups, I have Houston in their first matchup versus Northern Kentucky. Then I have Auburn being Iowa. I believe you had Iowa, but I like Auburn winning that. I feel like they play better against like better teams, the higher competition teams. I feel like that might help them out in this game. I do like Miami beating Drake. I like Indiana beating Kent State. I just think that they're too good for Kent State. Kent State Kent State, they have been playing well, but I like Indiana. I still like Indiana. I like Iowa State beating Pittsburgh. I like Xavier beating Kennesaw State. I like Texas A&M beating Penn State. And I like Texas beating Colgate. On to round of 32, I have Houston beating Auburn. That 4-5 matchup, Miami and Indiana, this was a hard one for me, but I'm going with Miami. I like Xavier versus Iowa State. Then I like Texas over Texas A&M. But that should be a good game, though. Texas A&M, they play a lot of teams tough, but I think Texas will pull it out in the end. As we get to the Sweet 16, I like Houston versus Miami. Then I like Xavier versus Texas. Then down to the Elite Eight. This was a hard one. Houston versus Texas. This is a hard one for
Texas might be the game of the tournament.
That might be. It really might be. And
that was a tough one.
The one that gave me the edge is just the fact that, like we said on the last episode, Houston, the way they play, they just wear you down. They're so experienced. They're hungry. So I think Houston will represent the Midwest in the Final Four. That's my pick. So
far, we agree with Bama, Houston. East, you got Kentucky, I got Marquette. Now the West, the team that came out of here for me is the team that I was impressed with back in January. If I was just watching them in conference tournament playing, they were just going off. I just like their makeup, and I feel like their style of play and just their makeup is built for a long tournament. You got to win six games, right?
Yep.
You got to win 6 games, right? That's a lot. So you got to have certain qualities, and I'll explain why I chose this team to come out of the West. Number 1 seed in this region, the West, is Kansas. Shout out to Howard for making the tournament. It's been a while for them. HBCUs, you love to see them getting in the tourney. I think this is where it ends, though. Kansas is going to move over. Arkansas, Illinois. Arkansas is moving over. Too much talent. I think that'll be enough. Scary matchup for Kansas in the second round, though. Scary matchup. Almost went with the upset. Almost did. VCU St. Mary's. Here's my 12-5. VCU. Shout out to y'all beating St. Mary's. You moving over. UConn, Iona. I think that'll be one that starts off exciting in the beginning, but I think UConn will wear them out with their depth. TCU versus the winner of Arizona State and Nevada. I like TCU. Mike Miles. I think he's just one of the best players in this tournament. I think that'll be enough to get them over. Gonzaga, Grand Canyon. Gonzaga, you moving over. Northwestern, Boise State. I mean, it really, in the grand scheme of this bracket, it doesn't really matter. I don't have them going too far. I'm gonna pick Northwestern. UCLA, UNC Asheville. I like UCLA in this one. I'm concerned about their depth. I know you got Jamie Jaquez and Jaquez and Tiger Campbell. Amari Bailey's playing better. I got UCLA moving forward in this one. Second round, Kansas, Arkansas. Man, I've loved Kansas and just a Bill self-coached team come tournament time. You got to trust it, right? In Arkansas, we talked about their freshmen, Nick Smith, Anthony Black. I think that experience, that Bill self-coaching will push them over. But I thought about it. I ain't going to lie. VCU, UConn. I love VCU. Love the history, starting, way back with Shaka, Smart, and Havoc. But I'm high on this UConn team. I got UConn beating VCU. TCU, Gonzaga. This would be the year Gonzaga makes their championship run when nobody's really talking about them. I think they're playing really well. They destroyed St. Mary's in their conference tournament game. I think Drew Timme will have his way against TCU. I think Gonzaga has enough to get past TCU. UCLA, Northwestern. I think UCLA is just going to out-talent Northwestern. And then we get down to the Sweet 16. Kansas, UConn. The defending national champs, you're out. I'm going with UConn. I'm going with UConn. Shocker, right? I'm going with UConn. I'll talk about UConn later. I really like this team. Certain things have to go right for them, but if things are clicking, I think they can make it out. Gonzaga, UCLA. I think Gonzaga will be too much. They'll have too much depth to UCLA. My Elite Eight matchup, UConn versus Gonzaga. UConn is representing the West. UConn's in the Final Four. They go 8 deep. I mean, that's crucial in tournament time. You never know. Foul trouble, things happen. You got to have guys that can come off the bench. If you can get 3 guys go 8 deep in the tournament, that's going to help you. Jordan Hawkins, he's a projected first-round pick. They got that checked off. Adamas Sanogo, a top big man in the college game, got that checked off. Andre Jackson. They got guys that can go, right? They have the size. They have some shooting. Could be a little bit streaky, but I trust Jordan Hawkins, one of the better shooters in the college game. I just know. I was watching them in January, and they look like a team that can make a deep run. Balanced. They have the size. They have the shooting. They have the athletes. I like UConn representing the West.
Wow, Kansas.
I got UConn over Kansas. I got UConn over Kansas in the Sweet 16.
That's tough. That's
tough. Know what? You know why I picked UConn over Kansas?
Why?
UConn has they got a couple bigs that I think can take advantage. Because Kansas, we know about their guard play, right? But inside it's kind of limited, right? And so I look at it like that when it comes to rebounding, offensive rebounding, like that's crucial, right? In these games, right? Possessions matter. So which team and when it comes to that matchup can get extra possessions? I'm gonna lean toward UConn in that one. It hurt me because I love how this team is coached with Bill Self, but I gotta go with UConn. I gotta go. Something tells me UConn would get that matchup.
It is March Madness. You never know. It's March Madness. Yeah. Okay. For my West, I have Kansas beating Howard. Like you said, shout out to the HBCU, of course. But I do have Kansas. Mm-hmm. Arkansas, Illinois. I gotta go with Arkansas. VCU versus St. Mary's. I was shouting out VCU the last one, so I'm still riding with them. UConn over Iona. This is a little shocker, but Nevada's going to win their playing game, and they're beating TCU too. They're beating TCU. That's what I'm going with. I'm going with that. They play Arizona State tonight. Nevada. I like Gerard Lucas, their guard. He used to play on Oregon State. He can light it up, man, and I feel like he's going to put on a show tonight. He's almost shooting like 40% from 3 this year. He's averaging, a good amount of points. I just feel like guard play like that can catch a lot of teams by surprise. And when a guard like that gets going, it's not much you can do, especially in the tournament game. So I like Nevada actually beating TCU after winning their playing game tonight. I like Gonzaga beating Grand Canyon, Northwestern over Boise State, and of course I like UCLA over UNC Asheville. As we move on, I have Kansas beating Arkansas. That's going to be a good one. That might be the game of the tournament too. Early on, like that really might be before we get to the Final Four and down in the gritty. One of the early, as far as the early rounds, that's going to be a good game. I have VCU over UConn.
Wow, you got my
I
you got my you
do.
got my Huskies out
I
early.
do. I got them out of there. Like I said, I like
Dang.
Ace Baldwin. Like I like their team. Like I said, they had the whole COVID incident a couple years ago. They're back. They're ready. I just think that they're hungry. So I think that they could be UConn. It's going to be a tough one, but it's March Madness. We know how it goes. I like Gonzaga beating Nevada. They had to. They're going to get the two little wins, but Gonzaga's going to beat them. Then I have UCLA over Northwestern. As we move on, Kansas is going to knock out VCU. That's where their run stops. Then I have Gonzaga over UCLA, which should be another great game. But then in the end, I'm going to have Kansas beating Gonzaga to represent that region. So I got Kansas making it. I think they'll do it. They'll be back in that Final Four this year.
So you got 3 number ones in the Final Four.
Yep, 3 number ones and a 6.
Wow.
Yep.
So I battle with myself like, man, it's rare that we get multiple number ones that make the Final Four, right? Like it's usually a couple number ones that stumble upon somewhere. And I figure, who are the number ones that I trust the most? Alabama and Houston. I trust those number ones the most. And so my Final Four is Bama, Houston. I got Bama playing Marquette, and I got Houston playing UConn. I got Houston being like Houston makes it this far. If Marcus Sasser is healthy, like I said, just the way they play, they get up on you defensively. A lot of teams aren't used to playing that style. And I think that'll push them over. Kelvin Sampson, look, this will be a heck of a story for him this year. The championship game is in Houston. This is Houston's college team. I think it would be just such a great story. I got Houston beating UConn and Alabama Marquette. I try not to overthink it. Sometimes don't overthink it. Who's the best team that just on the eye test? Who has the best player in college? Which offense is more efficient? Which offense is just putting up numbers? Defensively, I mean, they can get it done as well. Javon Quinterly has been such a great presence for them. He has the experience. They have some guys in the front court. They have the size. Top to bottom, I think Alabama and Houston are the top 2 teams, all things being considered equal. So I got Bama beating Marquette. I got Bama and Houston in the national championship game. I haven't decided who I got to win yet. I just want to see who you got winning the Final Four. I'm still thinking about the Bama-Houston matchup because that's a tough one for me.
So I did. So like I said, my Final Four is Bama, Kentucky, then Houston, Kansas. I do have Bama beating Kentucky, and I do have Houston beating Kansas. But I have Bama winning. I'm going all in on Bama, man. Like I said, I like the way they play. Brandon Miller, I just feel like he's a game changer. You got Jelly JQ, good floor general. I just like the way Bama plays. I like their style of play. I think it's going to give Houston, a problem. Like, not that Houston can't compete with them, but I think it's just something that Houston's not seeing. I feel like they're so used to their defense and their athleticism, their physicality, getting on people. But I just think that Alabama has an elite talent in Brandon Miller, and they just have a set system that everybody and their team can fit in, that I think it'll end up working out for them. And I think they'll win. I have the score actually 75-70. That's what I picked. That's what I came up in my mind, when I picked the score for the game. So I'm going with Alabama versus Houston, but Alabama winning in the end. So we're gonna get some Alabama basketball love instead of football, man. So that's what I like.
I texted you before the show that I got Alabama right now. That's what I texted you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man. How much time we got?
You got 9.
We got a lot of time. We got a lot of time.
You got
Man,
9 minutes.
I'm fighting the story element of Kelvin Sampson in Houston. It's in Houston. The game's in Houston. This is Houston's team. Man.
It's a lot of storylines to it, man. But like
shout out to the team, Phi Slamma Jamma in the 80s with Houston. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Man. They've made it far. These group of guys, they've made it. They've had these deep runs. But Bama, That's a
My,
powerhouse.
my problem with Houston is I just feel like there's certain times where their offense just stalls out, and it's
That's what
like
concerns
in
me.
the half court, and it's just it doesn't look right to me.
That's
They
what
rely
concerns
so
me.
much on their defense, and I feel like a team Alabama, if they're out there hitting their threes, it could
That's
get
what
bad for them.
that's what concerns me.
It could
If
get
Bama
bad.
gets hot, Quinterly is doing his thing. I mean, Miller is going off. I respect Jamal Shed and Marcus Sasser so much. I told you I picked Bama to win. I'm gonna stick with Bama to win. Bama over Houston. I'm gonna do it.
Okay, there it is.
That's what I texted you.
Team Bama. That's what it
That's
is.
what even though I've been telling you about Houston I've been saying Houston, but I can't deny Bama, man. I said I got Bama winning right now. I'm gonna just sometimes you gotta stick to your gut instinct and don't overthink it. Who's the best team when you watch? I think Bama and Houston have been the best teams overall in college basketball. That's just from my eyes, just watching it. And when it comes down to this, who has the best player on the floor? Alabama. Brandon Miller. Houston has the experience, though. I will say that. But I'm going to go Alabama. National champions. Over Houston. So Bama, Houston, Marquette, UConn's my Final Four. Who's your Final Four again?
I got Alabama, Kentucky, and then Houston and Kansas.
All right. I mean, look, after the first couple of days, who knows what can happen with these brackets? You know what I'm saying?
Hey man, for all I know, Oral Roberts could be in the Final Four at this point. You know
what I'm saying? Houston, they might, who knows? Marcus Sasser may not be himself. They can get bounced in the second round playing around, right? So you just never know. And then these tournaments, you're dealing with college age students, right? And they may not be locked in every game. 6 games is a lot.
It's a lot.
You're playing teams that you're not used to playing, and all it takes is a Princeton to get hot against Arizona, start just draining threes, right? Yeah. And you're just trying to figure out, you're scrambling, you're panicking.
Down 15, looking at the scoreboard like, what?
Yeah, so that's what makes March Madness so great. Like, you try to think about realistically, we both agree Bama and Houston are the best teams in college ball, but I thought Arizona's team last year was the best team in college basketball, personally. Mm-hmm. With Christian Coloco, Benedict Mathurin, even with the guys they have this year, with those 2 guys who are now, I thought Arizona, that was my pick to win it all. I thought they had the most well-balanced team to me on paper and what I saw. But we saw what happened. Kansas ended up winning. So you just never know. So we'll see. It'd be exciting to see, man, some upsets as well. But yeah, that's our picks for March Madness.
I do want to say Gonzaga. This is the year that they'll do something.
That's what I was saying.
Nobody's talking about
this would be the year.
And I was thinking about that in the back of my mind. I do this all the time. I'm like, man, dang, I knew Gonzaga was going to end up going because this is the type of team nobody's talking about them. Everybody's over the Gonzaga hype because they do this all the time. But Drew Timme, he's been there for a minute. He's been to the championship before.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, this is the type of team that actually end up happening. UCLA as well. It's a lot of teams that could really do it. We just don't know. Nobody knows.
I got Gonzaga in the Elite Eight, and I wasn't expecting them to have them there, but that's just the way the bracket worked out, right? So, I thought the Gonzaga team with Jalen Suggs and Corey Kispert was the one to do it.
Yeah,
right. And even when they had Rui Hachimura and Brandon Clark, I love that squad too. I picked both those squads to win it. And ever since then, there's certain teams that once I've picked you've burned me a couple times. I won't get fooled again. Michigan State's another one of those teams.
Yeah.
I can't get over that. But Gonzaga, man, you got to think, are they ever going to, like, one of these years they have to do it, right? But it's so tough. It's so tough to win a champ. I don't think people realize how tough it is to make a championship run. I don't think Gonzaga has to win a national title to, quote unquote, legitimize their program. They've made Final Fours, national championships. They produce first rounders.
They get top recruits.
To have that type of consistency, they rarely get upset in the first round. Like they're I mean, we can name some programs that have gotten upset in the first round, right? Have we seen that with Gonzaga? Like, are they getting caught off guard in the first 2 rounds, right? Memphis played them tough last year, but they pulled through, right? So Gonzaga is a team that consistently, you can count on them to at least make a Sweet 16 run. And as long as they have Drew Timme, I'm confident that they'll make another Sweet 16 run. I got them beating UCLA, in the Sweet 16. I got them in the Elite Eight. Wouldn't shock me if they found themselves in. If I got them in the Elite Eight, they're Final Four capable, right? So it wouldn't shock me that this would be the team, but I just don't see them outclassing Houston or Alabama if they were to play Alabama in the championship, and if they played Houston in the Final Four or Texas. I think Texas would be a tough matchup for them as well. So that'll be interesting. I hope Shaka Smart, man. I would love to see Shaka Smart in the Final Four again. How about a Marquette Texas championship? Shaka Smart used to coach Texas.
Yeah, that would be a crazy story.
So right now I'm just looking at storylines, right?
Yeah.
I think Creighton's a talented team. I'm looking at them and seeing what they can do. I think that Creighton-Baylor matchup in the second round, whoever gets that one has a chance to do something. I think so.
I just want to see what Cinderella team is going to make that run, man. That's the best part about March Madness. If your team not in it, you gotta watch that Cinderella team. I think Oral Roberts, I'm rooting for them. Just after what they did last year, I like Max Abmas. I'm rooting for them if Bama doesn't win to make my bracket right. But other than that, I mean, it's going to be interesting. We'll see.
Oral Roberts can do it. Kent State was I guess, my main upset pick. But I think they got to run into Houston. If Kent State makes a Sweet 16, that's a Cinderella run. I mean, they're a 13th seed making a Sweet 16, so I wouldn't be shocked if Kent State made a Sweet 16. I got them losing to Miami, but matter of fact, you know what? Let me get Kent State in the Sweet 16. How about that?
Hey, anything's possible.
It doesn't still right. I gotta have a double-digit seed in the Sweet 16, right? I got to, right? So I got Kent State already winning their first round matchup. So I'm gonna have Kent State in the Sweet 16. I just looked over that. Yeah, I got to have a double-digit seed. I'm going to go with Kent State as my Cinderella. We'll see. We'll see. Well, the first 4 games have already started, but tourney time, these next few days, next couple of weeks, man, I wish our squads was in it, but, it is what it is. But these are the final bracket. We both got Bama in Houston. We both got Bama winning it. We're gonna see if we right.
Great minds think alike. That's what they say. So we're right. You know what's going on. So
if y'all listen to us and get your bracket wrong, that's your fault.
Hey, listen, nobody gets their bracket all the way right. It's impossible. You can't predict this.
Can't predict
it. You're done. Imagine if they made the NBA one game and you're done.
That'd be crazy.
Crazy.
A lot of legacies may be different right now.
A whole different game. Whole different.
That's episode 5. I hope you guys enjoy just the March Madness. Enjoy this entire month. It's funny, during this time, you want to pay attention to the NBA, but all my attention is to the college game, honestly. You got the whole playoffs to worry about the NBA, but right now, these games are just too good. Especially
this is my favorite time of the year because the weather getting nice outside. You got college hoops, March Madness, then the NBA playoffs, then the summertime. It's going to be lit. So just sit back, enjoy. Everybody stay safe, take care of yourself, watch them games.
You got games on all day, these first couple rounds. So just enjoy episode 5 and stay tuned. We got more content coming. We got some exciting new things coming. So we're excited for that. But thank you guys for watching. We see y'all next time.
All right, peace out. Appreciate y'all.